Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to From the Depths with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome back to our lovely little airship. In today's episode, we are going to be hopefully defeating the Deepwater Guard once and for all, and then we are going to move on to a much more fearsome enemy, the Lightning Hoods. Now, the problem with this is that the Lightning Hoods are going to be using lasers, and we're made out of wood. Lasers cut through wood honestly, like lasers cutting through wood. It is rather terrible, and our entire fleet is going to be very vulnerable to this. Thankfully, we still have the advantage of superior firepower, at least for our cost, so I'm hoping we don't need to update everything into metal versions quite yet. The huge amount of wood as well will also give us some EMP resistance, as they are fond of using that particular type of weaponry. But before we do any of this, we're going to go ahead and make a few minor tweaks to our lovely airship. First of all, we are going to do a little bit with the cram cannons on the side. Now, a lot of you have said, Lathrix, why do you even have them there? They clearly can't broadside, and your vessel is made for broadsiding. It seems a bit dumb. And yeah, it kind of is, but the reason why they're doing so poorly, it turns out... Let's click over here, as a few of you did mention and did notice, so good call here. This is just me being silly and forgetting how cram cannons work all of the time, because I'm so used to having them just on the top of the ship, where this normally isn't an issue. Right now, as you can see, we have an elevation arc of 67.5, it's near the bottom of all that mountain of text, and not so much going left or right, but that's fine, we don't really need it to go left or right, because that's what the lovely turret itself is for. Now the thing is, because we are using only a couple of motor-driven barrels in the very centre here, they move upwards so slowly, even when they can broadside when the ship is still turning, they can't turn fast enough. So what we're going to do is this. There we go, all of these are being replaced with the motor version, which does heavily increase their recoil, and this is why I wasn't using motor driven in the first place. I was hoping we could just use elevation and regular, as they aren't so bad for recoil. The motor driven, I believe, are the worst for recoil. The modifier is 1.1, all the others... yeah, it is actually the worst. So now, you can see, they have an elevation firing arc of 80, which means they can almost completely broadside, unless the enemy is exactly parallel to us. They will be able to now shoot the target. And as you can see, the barrels move very, very quickly, and can go all the way out to there. So that there is the furthest they can go. I'm sorry about the loud noise, but that may have woke some of you up. So there we are, that's what we're going to do straight away to all of the cram cannons, which will make them more effective. Now, on to the reason why they are here. The reason why the cram cannons are here are twofold, one being more important than the other. The first of which is the most important thing, I think they look really cool on the side. I think they look awesome in their current positioning. And secondly, it simply means we have weapons that can fire forward very effectively, since if an enemy is slightly higher than us, which will happen since we are using the PID system alone rather than control blocks to fly, it means that this gun will always clip into the ship and simply can't fire. So we do need guns which are more vertical orientated than horizontal. Actually, there's a third reason as well. There is almost nothing in terms of space on the inside here. So as you can see, this is the maximum amount of space we have before we have lots of armor protecting vulnerable sections. So I can only build different cannons which can just stick on the side, like this little self-contained one. So when it comes to advanced cannons and such, we'd basically be building one of these, which just isn't as impressive. So I'll be right back once I've changed all of the turrets, and now I realise I have been waffling for far longer than I intended to. The recoil on the cram cannons is now absolutely terrifying. It's gone all the way up to 277,000. Yeah, that is really high. After looking at the last clip, it turns out that that is actually over double the recoil, but they are now a lot more effective. So what I'm going to do now is add some regular barrels until this is solved. So what we're looking at is the elevation, and I want that to stay on 80. As soon as that goes below 80, I will stop. There we go. So there we are. Let's see how fast that can still elevate. Hello, there we are. Which also looks way better, by the way, using the regular barrels there. That is slower than just having motor, but that should be okay. I think that's a good compromise. It's more accurate, it has less recoil, slightly slower elevation than pure motor, and way less recoil. There we go, working as intended, all of the cram cannons firing upon entering the broadside. The AI is trying to keep the ship at around about 60 degrees against the opponent anyway. Did you just shoot off my sail? That is so ridiculously rude. So, at any given time, only one cram cannon shouldn't be able to fire, so yeah, much better, and thank you to the people who highlighted this, because I very easily could have missed that. That's so much better. The next thing we need to change is the back section. So this will be the last thing I do before I go ahead and enter the campaign once again. I've also just realised that my official save now has these oil drills on. Goodbye. But really, we do need to do something with this. This is the only section where the underside has pretty much nothing going on. As you can see, there's a lot of empty space here. The rest is either taken up by space armor, just utter spammed armor, or vital components keeping this thing in the air. And as we saw versus the enemy aircraft, the enemy airship, this thing can actually take a lot of damage despite being made out of wood, so I'm really proud of how I've set up the armor. The back section here is just completely empty and really in need of something. So right now, I'm going ahead and I'm adding quite a lot of munition warners, which should be a hint as to what I'm doing on the back section now. Okay, so this is the first test. We are actually using the lovely missile interceptors. So although we are using missiles, it's to take out other missiles. The lack of missile damage in this campaign so far is bizarre for one of my playthroughs. Either way though, let's see, what has a couple of missiles? I don't want to see too many, and I especially don't want to fight enemies we have yet to encounter. The problem is I can't for the life of me remember which one of these actually uses missiles. The Red Tuna is an expert level craft. I was just looking at easy for a good 5 minutes thinking, where on earth is this? Okay then. Red Tuna, you have missiles, right? Yes, you do. Do I have missiles? Yes, I do. And that was utterly awful. And this is why we do tests. Okay, test number 2 versus the upgraded version of the missiles, and there we go. Absolutely perfect. So, the difference is now, they are far more agile, they are firing from the side, which makes them better at things in front and behind of us, and most importantly, they have flares, which means anything which is using the infrared detection system will be fooled, and basically the missiles will run into their own death and go straight into the interceptors, at least in theory. Which seems to be working just fine there. Now, this isn't a perfect system, it won't work well against swarm missiles, it will still work fine against things not using infrared, it simply doesn't fool the target before hitting the missile, but it's just cheap. It's cheap, and I don't want to spend much more on such a cheap aircraft. Okay, one missile has hit us, including one of our interceptors, which thankfully does like no damage. But that's fine, considering that's actually volley number 6 or 7 since I've just been letting this run. I'm fairly happy with that. Okay, a few final tweaks, and I've just added a couple of small flat cannons to the back, very similar to the one at the front, just a little bit larger with a slightly higher fire rate. And I did add 2. It looks a little bit silly, but thankfully they can both fire at pretty much anything in this area together, and then anything directly in front or this section that one can fire at, and then the opposite is true for there, because I just don't want to remove the sail, and placing it up here just looked really, really weird. So, probably not a permanent solution, but I like them. I like me anti-aircraft cannons. So, let's get back into the campaign at long last. I have been here for over an hour now, just messing with missiles and armor. Let's go kill things, shall we? The flying squirrel. 6,000 materials crammed into only 240 volume, a maximum speed of 60 meters per second, and one of the best units in the world for killing bad designs, or just killing designs which aren't specifically tailored to kill them. The flying squirrels are considered to be one of the most difficult designs in the Deepwater Guard, and I had to send the airship on its own, didn't I? Of course I did. Combat, please. That'd be good. Kill them! Kill them now! Shoot them down! Do the things! Ah, crud, the back weapons aren't even loaded. Oh, yes, main gun, thank you, a few little hits there. The flak killing the second. Oh my god, we just killed the squirrels. I love you, airship. Even your cram cannons tried. I am so glad I upgraded you in time. Oh my god, I think it was the back flak that actually shot. Wow. That was a lot of hype for something that happened very quickly, but we just downed the flying squirrels. I have never been so proud of you. So, as you can probably tell, right now we're getting rid of all of the forces around the main base before attacking it directly. The reason for this is that I don't want to accidentally bring them into play when we're fighting the base, but also, if the base makes one final fleet against us, it may simply reinforce one of these tiles, rather than defending the fortress, which would be kind of awesome. I am really tempted to add a couple of those anti-aircraft cannons to our lovely Malal's Will. We certainly have a little bit of space for it here, although it would weaken the armor around the main gun. Oh, that's what's causing the lag. You two again, stop trying to fuse. It just looks stupid. I already made you look silly enough, now you don't need to do that as well. Okay, so these are fairly cheap. They're only 1,000 each, so we could add two of them relatively easily and simply add them here. Now, admittedly, this would mean they can't do their full turn, but it should be okay if we remove some of this armor as well. So place it like that, remove the side armor. Okay, yeah, that means they can't fire at things a little bit past directly forwards or backwards, but that should be okay. So, like there. No, like here. Yes. Let's do that then. Change of plan, we're going to do that afterwards because A, I don't have enough resources to do it right now, and B, they really need their own mainframe so that they can target different things from the main guns. So this is the Kraken. These are all of the Kraken's guns. These are the Kraken shells heading towards our battleship. Why did I spawn like this? I should have spawned over there or something. Hopefully we can take it out before it takes out the Malal's Will. Just begin. Okay, main guns are now firing back. Missiles are incoming. It's done a lot of damage to us already, we just bounced, and I have now taken damage myself. Oh dear, I think I may die. The Kraken isn't looking too good either though, kind of wishing I didn't have these inertial fuses set to be so specific. Okay, main guns now online. It's like tearing off the arms first. Yeah, we need to change those inertial fuses. I've seen it happen a few times now, but that's terrible. All of the shells are basically detonating as soon as they hit the water, rather than detonating later on. Okay. I can't really see what's going on here. We did disable it pretty quickly, but how much damage did it do to us? It removed both of the front cram cannons, it removed one of our ammo storages, it removed one of our AI, and a lot more just random internal damage. Ooh, a lot of internal damage, look at that. Definitely a victory, but not that close, honestly. Sorry, not that much of a decisive victory. Thankfully, the missiles did a lot of work from the drones. Thank you, layers upon layers of armor and lots of firepower. Yep, it managed to get through 2 layers of metal and then 5 layers of wood and then do damage to the opposite side as well after destroying turrets. It also hit over here, I'm not sure why. I don't actually have ammo in this section, I don't know what that was aiming for. It just happened to hurt it, apparently. Okay, so the frag shells now are a little bit more tolerant when it comes to being deflected, or at least a change in their path. It's been set from 1 all the way up to 17.5. I don't know if this is a good number or not. We will find out very, very soon in tests. Essentially, I want the perfect number, so if it hits the water and then goes down a little bit, it doesn't detonate, thus actually hitting the target underneath the water. But at the same time, it needs to be sensitive enough where it explodes forwards upon being reflected by a shield. It's a bit of a juggling act, really. Whilst the Malal's will is repairing, and we're simply getting resources to do so, it's time to lure out the Strength 46 from this tile and kill them in this area over here, thus not causing the enemy fortress to attack us. The reason why I'm doing this, even though we are already low on resources for repairs, is that if the enemy makes a force, and this force is 0, they are almost certain to reinforce it and thus not attack us. So we're sort of acting defensively by being incredibly offensive. The Malal's will is now fully healed, and this is because this force is incredibly slow, and of course the Malal's will is actually fairly cheap, being only made of wood. Really the huge benefit there. Come on, get to me already, we're just waiting. Okay, that's close enough, let's help the poor thing. Okay, yes, yes, yes. Okay, so let's put the airship, here, there, yeah, let's say there. And then the 2 cornflakes can take their regular position, on both sides, thus being the ultimate nuisances. Against us, we have the Walrus, the Paddle Gun, and the Paddle Gun prototype. Which one is the slow one? The Walrus. Isn't that the huge storage vehicle that doesn't really have many weapons? That's not going to end well for it, is it? Okay, here we go. Incoming flak rounds to start off with from the airship, followed by the heat rounds, which are going straight through that shield. The paddle gun is firing at the airship, but thankfully, by the looks of things, missing most of those shots. Oh, the cram cannon, including the improved broadside, firing a little bit too slow there to really help out. I think it may be AI dead. Yes, yes it is. Okay, that was a fairly quick fight as well. Now leaving the enemy fortress exposed, which we really should take advantage of before it reinforces. Excellent. Now, do I wait and make another drone, or do I just go in all guns blazing? I could attack right now in seconds using the airships. Well, the airship and the 2 cornflakes. I think that's the best idea. I don't think the Malal's will should be allowed near the fortress. I want to capture it. So using the 3 flyers, which have a lower amount of firepower, is probably the best idea. The final battle. The Davy Jones outpost surrounded by our forces. 2 of the cornflakes and 1 of the airship. Let's see how this goes. I will try to resist jumping out of the drone straight away in order to try and capture it, but no promises there. Begin the battle. Let's see the Davy Jones outpost before we destroy it. Oh, I forgot that it spawns in a flying squirrel. Well, that's something I completely neglected. Can someone please kill that before it gets out of the water? That would be glorious. Crud. Well, great job, guys. You allowed it to become airborne. Like any disease, you don't want that to happen. Oh, dear. Well, okay, all of the missiles from the Davy Jones just hit one of the drones, and it hit it incredibly hard. On the upside, the flak has actually managed to kill the enemy flying squirrel again. Well done to the airship. I'm going to jump on board the damaged one and then try to get closer to the enemy base before it's completely eradicated. Lots of firepower coming in from the airship. Okay, everyone turn off. Oh, those missiles look bad. Okay, the other drone has taken a lot of damage. The cornflake not looking its best there. Turns out the base has some really nasty missiles. Okay, stay on. It's still alive. I don't want to capture it manually and do all the work. That just feels too cheaty. I want to wait until it's definitely certain we would have been victorious anyway. Oh, cram cannon shots coming exactly where I'm going. Thanks for that, guys. Oh. Okay, the AI was removed as soon as I reached there. I did nothing but simply swim over. Pirates, the scum of the earth. Okay, so maybe I should read the title first, eh? Dead men tell no tales. Pirates, the scum of the earth. Greedy thieves that care nothing for the world. That care nothing for those they steal from and hurt. The 12 pirate lords of the Deepwater Guard each have surrendered to save their own filthy skins. Protectors of Erwick, they call themselves, but they grew rich standing on the backs of the poor and giving nothing back. Hanging them would be too quick, too merciful, and if they were dead, they couldn't tell others of their downfall. No, the pirate lords will work off their debt to the people. They will till the fields, dig the wells, and build the homes under the watchful eyes of armed guards, or guards' arms, which is definitely a different thing, till their debt is paid. When that day will come is yet to be decided. Well, there we go. We have successfully stolen Davy Jones's outpost. So let's have a quick look at this beautiful thing before we get to repairing it fully. So as you can see, it's made of loads of ships melded together. It has this lovely gate, and honestly, it's just utterly awesome. And it's worth 88,000 resource still. It could pay for a second Malal's Will, with almost enough to spare to make another cornflake. Oh, what do I do? Do I scrap it? Do I keep it? Do I rename it? Do I paint it pink with yellow spots? I just don't know. Either way, this is going to take a while to repair. Poor drones. Both of them actually airborne still, though, so credit to... I was about to say credit to the designer. That's me. Credit to Lathrix. Well done, Lathrix. Hey, pat on the back to yourself. So it turns out, like a lot of designs, in fact, it's meant to be all of the designs in the campaign, this thing has no repair bots. So let's just put them somewhere so we can see this thing in its full glory. There we go. Good enough, and that should enable quite quick repairing when out of play at least. A little while later, and here we are fully repaired with our flag raised high. So there's a couple of things. First of all, the engine is draining fuel very, very quickly because it's way too strong for this fortress. So I am going to have to find the engines, which I think are over here. Well, there's one at least, and we are going to have to downscale them significantly, because that's just a waste of fuel, which is then a waste of materials. The second thing is this. So we have these hanging mainframes here, which, of course, will act as a very good distraction from enemies. But it took me a second, and I don't know if this is the intended symbolism here. But you know how it can be a bit gruesome, but sometimes warring factions, pirates and the like, may hang those who they have captured, and perhaps display them as a sign of dominance and fear. Well, did you know that the mainframes have brains in them? I think these are meant to be hanging heads. And it's from the ships they have taken. Just let that sink in for a moment, because when I realised that, again, I don't know if that's the intention of the creators, but that's what I'm getting from that, and it's kind of gruesome and kind of amazing at the same time. So with that, I'm afraid I am all out of time for today's episode. The very first faction has now been defeated. The Deepwater Guard are no more. The Pirate Lords are doing our bidding. And of course, we own the Davy Jones outpost. In the next episode, we are going to be going towards the east, in which we will attack the Lightning Hoods, which will be our very next enemy. But before we go, let's just do one thing. There we are, the Malal's Will in comparison to the end boss of the Deepwater Guard, at least in terms of size. Of course, this one is far more hollow, but actually, they are very, very similar, so I'm really happy with that. I would also like to do one other thing, which is... let's add... where are you? The docking station. Let's put that there. Let's spawn in our lovely, lovely airship. Since it did so ridiculously well today. And let's let it dock. I think we should build an air dock just for this one purpose. Wow. Not quite right there, guys. No, you're doing that physics thing again. No, please don't merge. No, please. Okay, that didn't quite have the effect I wanted, I admit. That isn't, no, you've done that wrong. You're not correct there, sir. There we go, that's better. Not only is it for actually comparing the two forces, but also, I just really wanted to see them together. I think that's a really cool sight. So, with that, I really am out of time for today's video, so if you have enjoyed, then of course, likes, favourites, shares, comments, all that good stuff, helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that From the Depths is a series you wish to see continued in the future. In the next episode, I predict we're going to lose some of our vessels as we start to fight the second faction. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Maybe it's time for me to build a submarine.